Well, there he is. We had a little boo boo happen where he froze up on us, but we've got him back. Okay. Brian, I think we were talking about you being, we're talking about Guiding Light. We were talking about you being in Alabama, Nashville,
Yeah, I was in Alabama. Yeah,
with the
I was in
ex.
Nashville, but then I was in Alabama.
Uh huh.
So Guiding Light. Yeah, they actually thought I lived in New Jersey, and I never told them I was actually commuting from Alabama because that would have scared them, and I really needed the job because I had a 2-year-old baby. And by the time they did find out I was commuting from Alabama, they realized that was probably a bad idea. So then I wasn't on the show anymore.
But do you love that you get recognized in the streets, like you're walking in the streets right now?
I don't anymore, but I that's okay. I don't.
But you did back in the
I
day.
used to like working on soaps in New York and have that feeling of you're part of the city and part of the community, and you're walking around the Upper West Side, and like construction workers will be like, "Hey, Bobby,"
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and you just felt like it was the same. You would see Regis walking by, and they'd say, "Hey, Regis, how you doing, Regis?" And you were like one of the team.
Well,
So
yeah.
it was exciting.
I remember when I was in New York visiting with friends for weeks on end, and Nathan Purdie who was formerly on The Young and the Restless, was now on One Life to Live in a very prime role, as he was on The Young and the Restless as well. And we were walking on the street and we're yakking and stuff, and these guys are offloading this moving van, and they stop him and they're like, "Hey, don't I know you?" And he's like, "I don't know. Do you?" And they're like, "Wait a
Right.
minute." And they're like looking at him and they're like, "I know that I know you." And Nathan's teasing with them and going, "Well, then where do you know me from?"
She's back.
It was so
Yeah.
funny. And and then the guy goes, "I don't know, man, but I know that I know you." And then you could see the light bulb go on. And he's like, "You're that guy on One Life to Live.
Right.
My wife and I
You're
watched
the
that
guy.
show."
You're that guy on the thing that I watch sometimes
Yeah,
on the other thing, and I don't like. No one really knows who you are. It
exactly.
was really the great thing about playing so many parts on daytime is I ceased to become that character for people, and people started to know my real name
Oh,
because
really? Oh, cool.
I wasn't just like one of those people who played the same part for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
So they started to know, oh, you're that. I mean, they'd be like, you're that guy, but they'd start to know like you're not just that character. And I mean, the opposite effect when you're in New York, I know my children, you're playing kind of an asshole. You're you're like I literally would have people coming up to me on the street and just grabbing me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you stop treating her that way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
Of course.
oh,
Yeah.
no, don't do
Yeah.
this.
It's the same thing that happens in LA too. It's like, you should be with Brooke. Why are you?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about LA though is you would leave the studio and you're in your car, and then even when you get out, depending on what part of LA you're in, you got, people are, they're just like, first of all, it's the business, so everybody knows everybody, and it is what it is. New York's not a one industry town, and you have such a diverse population that you have different types of people walking around. In LA, it's not like that. And plus they got the movie stars and stuff, so they're like, you're just the dude on that little daytime soap. In New York it was the daytime act. Like, thing too is like in New York, for the day players on soaps, they would get like the big Broadway actors.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you didn't call in like the actor who'd never done anything to do the under 5. There were like Broadway actors who were excited to be on TV for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And then they call in, and all the soap actors would get called in for all the Law and Orders, because that was the scene. I mean, we were all in the same community here.
Yeah, and you still are. I mean, I have musician friends who are big, musical theater stars, and they do
Like, I just want
bits on all kinds of stuff. They do bits on, Law and Order. They do, The Blacklist. I mean, there's all kinds of things like that. Oh, nice background. Look at you, Brian.
Right.
You look so
No,
nice.
we finally
So,
got here.
I also
I'm
love,
about to get on the subway right behind me.
well, you're just going to have to
I'm
wait.
going to a Broadway play.
Well, I love that actors like Shamar Moore still acknowledge their time on daytime. I find that very impressive. Because
Yeah, I
not many
mean,
do, but he does.
well, you have to. I mean, the thing is like, and like, I've already probably said way more, and I told you this would happen. I say way more than I really should, and I'm way too honest. But like I said, I'm old enough now where I maybe don't care anymore.
Exactly.
And the thing is you get like my experience of my career in retrospect is that as much as like I kept thinking like, okay, this is daytime and it's cool, I'm having a good experience, but there's all these other great things I want to do. But even when I had a taste of that sometimes, unless you're like a big, huge star, I found that people don't necessarily believe this who don't know better, who think daytime is just one thing. But for me, artistically, as freedom as an actor, I had a much more positive experience in daytime television. And everything wasn't, I mean, with primetime often, it's like, it's not really character driven all the time. And, you know, if you're not lucky enough to be on a This Is Us or something, which by the way, I thought my eyes were puffy when we started because I just finished watching this week's This Is Us.
Oh.
So I was like, oops, I was like bawling before.
Aren't you glad with his choice, though?
Yeah, but I don't want to give any spoilers if people
We don't want, no,
they
we
watch
don't.
this.
That's why I
But
just
yeah.
said his choice. I
No,
didn't say what
that made me cry though, because you know we all sort of connect to that a little bit.
Of course, of course.
So, but I don't know. I mean, I think daytime potentially, you know, I know like I'm still friends with a lot of the writers on Facebook and all that. And there's just a community and a scene where we all sort of understand each other. And that,
Oh, it's a family.
you know,
It's a family.
and that's why I just don't, you know, I think I told you this too, that I get annoyed that like almost every single film that mentions daytime soaps, it's always presented in a satirical fashion. And I'm a big Soap Dish fan. I love it.
Oh, I know.
But to keep doing it over and over again, where it's always
Maligned.
I didn't like Nurse Betty. I didn't like.
Yeah.
It's always like it's not. Yes, that exists. But when you're doing like shows all year round, yeah, some of it's going to be crap. But there's also what people don't know is like when you're shooting live, yeah, there's edits that happen, and some of the producers did more inner edits than other people that just leave it like the way you do it, and then they make it maybe a little tighter and a little better. But generally, it's basically live to tape.
It's the hardest acting job in the world.
Not only for me, it's in a way. I don't want to say it's easier, but it's more like theater. Exactly. And it's more like you know what you're doing. You know that's going to end up on TV. They're not going to like completely change it in editing. And if my point though was that the beauty of it is, in the same way that Michael Mann shot when he finally had De Niro and Pacino together for Heat, and he made sure both cameras were rolling because he wanted that live experience with them. The same way, when we're on daytime and when you do have those magic moments between actors, you know that it's really happening.
Exactly.
It's not something that was manipulated.
It's in the moment. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful, I mean, on All My Children, I had stuff working with a baby. People say not to work with babies and animals, but I loved it. And I had my favorite scenes were with this little baby, and knowing that like I completely like would change my lines and do a monologue to get the baby, and they kept shooting. And then it's like this moment that's just exists in time forever. And those moments, they really work and they're really special. And it's really a place where, you know this, so we were in these people's living rooms every single day and on video, which made it seem like it was really like there, like on their home movie or something.
And they think they know you, which is why they can attack you in the streets. Just kidding.
Right, which that's the bad part. But the good part is you create a comfort. You're part of creating the comfort zone, which I experience now with some of the primetime shows. But then there's like only 16 episodes, and then I gotta wait a year or 2 years because of COVID and all. And so it's like, it's just, there's just like with anything, I think it's so easily maligned creatively,
Mhm.
but after experiencing some types of movies and some types of prime time, they're not all they're cracked up to be all the time. They can be, but at the end of the day, the real actors are the ones that know that work is work. And they would have, like, even Julia Roberts has said, if I had gotten a soap, that would have been my
Absolutely.
dream. And that
Exactly.
would have been fine. But it
Exactly.
just didn't work out that way. So
Exactly.
all the good actors and the ones with a good personality are the ones that know that, like, they don't think their shit doesn't stink just because they're a movie star.
Exactly.
They know that
Exactly.
they would have been fine being a soap star when they
Exactly.
were young. No,
Well, because it's constant work.
yeah,
all
and
the
even like
time.
someone like Christopher Walken, he calls himself just like a show, not a showman. What does he say? He's like a hoofer. Like
A
he's just a
song and dance.
yeah,
man,
and he's
Mhm.
gonna show up whatever it is.
Yeah.
He's one of the only actors that can get away with this though. He can do the
Yeah.
worst movie and then still get cast in the best movie. But
So
he doesn't read the scripts.
Yep.
He shows up, he does what he does, and it's his version of the art, and you get Christopher Walken, but to him it's just a job. Point
Exactly.
me in the direction and let's tell a story.
Exactly.
And the older you get, the more you realize I just want to tell stories. You don't, it doesn't matter where it is, you just want to put your heart into something.
Would you go back to daytime?
If it still exists, yeah.
Well, so far it does, Brian. Let's pray to this.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean-
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's a place to tell stories, and I mean, I remember after leaving All My Children, I was in LA. I was doing guest stars here and there, and I did an episode of Diagnosis Murder, and I was thrilled to be working with Dick Van Dyke. I mean, his childhood hero,
Yeah, he's a great
amazing.
guy. Yeah.
So I had a great time, but then and I got paid decent for the one episode at the time.
Mhm.
But then I go home, it's like, yeah, I paid a couple bills, but I hit my marks and I said my lines, and I was utilitarian for them to tell their story and their plot, but it didn't feed me as an
The way
artist,
daytime
as
does,
an
the way
actor.
daytime does. Yeah, the
Daytime
ability
or I'm
to
just saying any play. I mean, I just did this film, Bachelor's Valentine, and even that was like, it's not daytime, but there was like an avenue back into, oh, I can have a whole arc. I can tell this,
do
complete
this. Yeah.
bring this character to life in a way that I'm not just utilitarian. I don't like, I mean, honestly, like I said this the other day, like it almost seems like too much on social media when every actor is so grateful all the time for every little opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm like, shut up, be cooler. because
yeah.
because I get it. I used to, when you watch people famous winning awards and stuff, and they're grateful, great, they should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
But now I like hear everybody every time they get to like go to a set and be like, I get it, and they're being politically correct. I get it, but I look back to the old days of the actors I loved and something, and you just be a little more rebellious, maybe. Don't be an asshole on the set,
Yeah.
but in public, don't act like, oh, thank God, all the time.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if
it almost comes off as insincere.
yeah, like, or
Yeah.
you're doing it just because you got to make sure you keep everybody happy because
Exactly.
they might not hire you again,
Yeah.
which they're probably right. But I just can't live in that world. I can't be like that all the time.
Well, no,
You
you have
used to
to separate.
you used to dream about you wanted to be Steve McQueen. You wanted to be cool. You wanted to be like, you didn't want to be like, oh, thank God, this is what,
Yeah.
you
yeah.
privately, yeah, you say that to your mom.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't go walking around like the Fonz.
Right. So anyway, but whatever. I got to get to this Broadway play, but
I know.
I wanted to quickly talk about this movie that I wrote.
Oh, you're talking about Jazz Makes the Movie?
Right. Which I mean, I'll just quickly say I haven't, we're hoping to go into production in the next year or so, but we haven't raised the money yet. And it's like a real budget. So I mean, we need like probably need like $500,000 at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also starting to write another script just in case that it might be a little smaller. But this was my gut. This came out with my gut, and I'm basically in it. It's very meta.
It's about you, isn't it?
I'm playing myself, but it's not 100% real. It's not it's very magical realism in a lot of ways. Basically, a young documentary filmmaker wants to make a movie about me, and it just ends up opening up this can of worms about my life, but you don't know what's real and what's not. It just becomes very almost Fellini-esque and very dreamlike in a lot of ways.
But it's about the time that you played a soap actor. It's not about
Well,
you,
well, the
Brian.
reason, well, both. I mean, I
Okay.
am Brian, but yeah, I mean, it's not. It takes place way after that. It takes place sort of present day, but then there's flashbacks and all this different stuff.
Oh, cool.
But it's very Fellini-esque. It's very
Okay.
like if you like 8.5 kind of
Okay.
like it's like this
A
sort
little
of
wacky.
dream-like experience of this person trying to figure out his life, and this girl who's doing this documentary on him, and why is she even doing this documentary, because he doesn't really matter, and it's this all, it just opens up this whole can of worms. So it's getting really good response. Everyone's loving the script, and we just got to like put the pedal to the metal and start going into pre-production and try to get the money.
Are you
Sort of
shopping it?
pre-production.
Are you
It's
shopping it
not a,
East Coast and West Coast?
no, we're not. It's not shopping as much as like just looking for investors and people and individuals will invest as well. But we'll need some bigger investors as well, which there's a website called WeFunder.
Uh-huh.
And instead of like a Kickstarter that's like, here, you can have for $5, you can have the autograph for 2. We need more than that. So WeFunder is more for companies trying to start a business and stuff, but also filmmakers use it sometimes. And it really breaks down like what your investment is. So the people who invest will be true investors, even at a smaller level. They'll still have a piece of the movie in a way. So that all being said, who knows if this will ever happen, but that's the goal right now. And in the meantime, I'm waiting for, I'm just still here. I work as a massage therapist and I'm still acting, I'm still writing, and next year Bachelor's Valentine's Day the Bachelor's Valentine will be coming out, and right now there's a film that I actually shot 10 years ago with Terry Ivins from All My
Oh,
Children
wonderful.
that finally came out 10 years later. That is the director's true story about being abducted when she was 8 years old.
Oh,
And I played the actual child abductor, which apparently turns out to be the same person. We didn't know this when we made the movie, but now through information 10 years later, we know that there's like a 99% chance that it was the same person who killed John Walsh's son, who ended up doing America's Most Wanted. And she should have been dead. The statistics say that 99%
wow.
of all stranger abductions end up in murder.
Wow.
But the whole movie's about her PTSD because they kind of kept it from her. She was 8 and they pushed it away, so she forgot about it.
Uh-huh.
And then when she was 33, these memories start coming back to her, and nobody's admitting that it really happened.
Wow.
So she's feeling like it didn't happen at first, and it probably did.
Seems very timely.
It did happen, but like when you're watching the movie, you get when it's the way it's edited, you get the sense like, is she just crazy? Like, did this really not happen?
So she wrote it and she directs it?
Yes.
Okay.
Gina Garcia. And and Terry Ivins plays her.
What's it called?
It's called Untold. This Is My Story.
Wow. That sounds like
It's
it'd be great.
you can look it up on video, any place where you get your video on demand, on AT&T Uverse, on Verizon, Fios, all that. And within the next couple of weeks, hopefully it's going to be on Amazon Prime. You can rent it there.
Yeah, it sounds like something that Netflix or Amazon would just love it.
We'll see. I mean, hopefully within the next like 3 weeks or not 3 weeks, in the next 3 months, usually what happens after the video on demand, it ends up then on a streaming service that you can watch it if you just have the streaming service. But right now it's for rent. And
yeah, nice.
so there was a time about 10 years ago where I kept thinking, well, I should just give this all up. And then once I figured out a way to make a living, I was like, oh, it's always going to be there. This is who I am. If it becomes the forefront of my life again, great. If it doesn't, it's just always there. I'm a storyteller, and I just want to keep doing it.
It's like a musician friend of mine once said, if you aren't doing it, if you don't keep doing it, it will haunt you for the rest of your life.
Right.
So
Well, when I was
do
Uber
it.
driving, you've probably seen some of these, but and there's probably some people said take those down, Brian, but I didn't care. When I was Uber driving in LA, sometimes like on my break, I would pull over and I would quickly learn some monologue that I found online from a movie or play. And I literally didn't really I didn't spend a lot of time rehearsing or whatever. and I'd set my camera up in my car and I would just do the monologue.
Oh, I
And
love it.
I'd post those on YouTube. And it was always like, for me, it was about connecting to the type of scripts that, you grow up when you're theatrically trained and all that. There's certain types of things you did in school and the kind of movies that you thought you were going to be doing, you ended up not doing that. And then everything's gone. And it was about me reconnecting to the source, which is the word, the written word of the
Right.
things that are like, oh, I just, when actors are like, I just want to say that. I just
Yeah.
want to say those words. And that kind of kept me alive during that
Yep.
time. So
Well,
now
that's what's great about you, Brian, is that you don't give up. And, so many, has-beens or whatever we should call them. I'm always reluctant to use that terminology, but, or people who just gave up. They just gave up.
Yeah, and maybe it wasn't. I mean, it's okay. I mean, sometimes that's the way fate goes. And I'm not like, I've had a long run where there were years where I don't do much. And maybe part of the reason I don't give up is because like I was born with as much anxiety as I have sometimes. I was also born with this sort of Zen feeling of like, I kind of go into hibernation.
Yep.
So that's so it's bad in a lot of ways because I disappear for a while and people are like, we don't know you. Where the hell have you been? But in other ways, it's almost like time travel for me because it's like I've just been sleeping for 5 years.
Yeah.
It's not like I've been worried about the fact of like, oh my God, I'm not doing this. I better become a banker or whatever. I just go to sleep which isn't always good because I'm not dealing with reality. I'm
Brian the banker.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
Well, I think COVID was a big lesson for everybody because it forced everybody to stop.
Right.
To absolutely stop.
Yeah, well, COVID was amazing. I mean, not for the people who died, obviously,
well,
but just the feeling that the whole world, for me,
Yep.
the whole world finally just stopped for a second. And
Exactly.
I was like, can we just do this every couple of years? And for a month?
Exactly.
Like the environment gets better for a second.
Yep.
The whales are giving birth more than they were
Yep.
before. There's animals
Yep.
coming back to life. And
Yeah,
it's like, hello, this is a sign. Like
exactly.
we need to stop for a second every so often. And
Exactly.
and for so many people, especially if you were lucky enough to get the unemployment with the extra $600, for a lot of us, we're like, oh,
This
this
nice.
is what it feels like to
Yeah.
not stress out for a second.
Exactly.
And I hadn't felt that since I was like 20.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just and it makes I would say, like, sometimes you see these movies where there's this character who's doing pretty well and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna quit. I'm just gonna take a break for 3 months and figure out what I want to do with my life. Now, in most of our realities, we can't do that
Exactly.
unless you're like the CEO of a company or something.
Right.
So that never happens. And that was the first time that me and so many people were able to go, wait a second, we're gonna, we might be over halfway through this adventure called life.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do for the
Yeah.
rest of it? And slow down. And even if it didn't mean necessarily seizing the day, like I say online all the time, it's seizing the day for me doesn't always mean like just go nuts and push. Sometimes it's like, no, that means I'm going to finally like just sit in a hammock and finish a
Exactly.
book.
Exactly.
And that's my
Take a
life.
breath.
And I'm okay with that.
Take a
Like,
breath.
I want to experience that enjoyment of just not having to feel like, what am I going to do this month to pay all the bills?
Yeah. Not having to hustle all the time.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of people found themselves again. So
Well, the whole
hopefully.
world too. A lot of Americans think it's just America. It was the whole world.
Right. No, and it was like noise. I mean, they literally they have measurements of like the noise disappearing and that sort of noise pollution. And even literally like people's steps and how the small vibration that increases on the earth
Yep.
went down
Yep.
because everyone was just sitting still for a second.
Like the day the earth stood still.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Well, I know that you're busy and I don't want to keep you. So thank you so much for
Yes.
being on the show, Brian.
We're getting to. Thank you so much for having me.
I think the audience
again, I
learned
just
a
wanna
lot
say-
today.
Yeah, unfortunately, probably too much.
Oh
But
no, it's never
I-
too much with you, Brian. Never too
All right.
much.
yeah, that's what they say. That's what
Never
people
too
say are
much.
trying to get you in trouble. Wait, I'm disappearing because I'm paying
Oh,
for the
oops.
subway.
Okay. Well, it was an
Um,
absolute joy having you.
Okay, I'm here.
So
Wait,
you
hold on.
paid?
Don't say bye yet.
Okay, bye. No, just
No,
kidding.
don't say bye yet. Um, Hold on. Yeah, I missed the train,
Whoop.
but I'll just get the next one. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
taking
the
you down
nice
the
thing about
subway.
subways. They come often, you know.
This is actually turning into like a really cool interview now because you're getting the adventure through
I
Brooklyn.
am. We're getting to watch Brian go down the stairs. It's like a TV show. It's like our own
Yeah.
soap opera.
We can do it this way. I'd be like, I'll just stay in character over here.
I want you to start sending more tapes out so you can get hired on a soap again.
I don't know what that. Well, I gotta have the audition. So there.
But you would have
The
to
thing
go.
is
You'd have to come
the-
back
the-
here,
the thing is no, they auditioned me from here, but I don't. There's not.
but you'd have to
My,
move back here.
what I was always told is because with like 8 to 10 shows, a lot of us would have ended up back on shows again. But with only 4 shows, there's just not as many opportunities for the contract roles and stuff.
You never
So,
know. You never
You never know. You're
know.
right. You never know.
They reprise all kinds of people and all kinds of storylines, get
I
recycled all
know.
the time.
I don't want to talk like I'm going to be kissing people's ass right now trying to get a job.
You don't have to. Just say, I want to do this. Just, I want to come back. You know, I'd love to come back. That's what you say. And, you know, I mean, because people miss their soaps. It's this tweet that I talked to you about earlier that Robin Strasser put out recently when she said, I joined Twitter in April 2011 when the announcement that One Life to Live and All My Children were going to be canceled. Cue mournful music. Why not? Because I know all of my followers identify with and share the deep sense of loss that senseless, counterproductive decision left us all with, so many of us. And that was just a couple days ago. So people are missing their
Right.
soaps, you know, and the people that start on them, like
Yeah.
Robin Strasser, you know, they miss their soaps.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Before the fall of the Roman Empire.
Just to put such a positive spin on it, Brian.
I mean, I do think it's a little weird when the daytime Emmys come out and there's like 4 nominations
I
and there's
know.
only 4 shows. I mean, it's a bit much. I'm like, let's think of something else to do. I mean, even that, like I've presented at the daytime Emmys and being backstage and knowing that I was about to hand an award to somebody. At that very moment, I say, why are we picking? Everybody's pretty damn good. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I
Everybody.
I'm not a big award person. I feel like I think we should have a big party and celebrate all the great work. And
Yeah.
I don't like the once it comes if you say you're the winner, I'm like, I don't. That's like literally for horses. They say awards are for horses. Like I didn't get in. I didn't become like you. We all have our fantasy of like doing our Oscar speech and stuff, but that's not really why we get into it.
No, of course not. Of course not. So where are you off to on your subway
going-
train?
I think I'm going to meet a friend. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going to meet a friend who was one of the stars of the Temptations musical,
Oh, cool.
and we're going to go see another Broadway play. That's about to close actually because of probably not great reviews, but we're still curious about it. So
What is it?
we're gonna see it. The Little Prince, which is one of my favorite books.
Le Petit Prince.
Yes.
Nice. Oh,
Which I think it's supposed to be more like a Cirque du Soleil sort of presentation. It's not
Oh,
like a
that's-
normal play. There's a lot of acrobatics and stuff.
well, you should know about that from playing Peter Pan.
No, I wasn't really. We didn't have the budget to lift me up off the. I just leapt around the stage like a gazelle.
How old were you?
12 or so.
Oh, I was going to say 12 or 13. Yeah.
And most of the
Brian,
Peter Pans,
woo!
mostly Peter Pan ends up being a girl, but all the old ladies thought I was a girl back then, so it worked out okay.
Well, they don't now, big guy.
Depends who you talk to. That's why I keep the beard to make sure there's no confusion.
Well, and not wearing the tights all the time helps too.
Right, right. No, they didn't think I was a girl in the Peter Pan costume. They thought I was a girl. Like little old ladies would come up to me like, "Oh, you're just such a sweet little girl."
Oh no.
Because my mother, because I wore my hair really long. I guess, and I guess I was pretty enough or whatever, but I don't know.
Well, you know, at
I'm
least,
okay, I'm okay with it.
at least she didn't dress you in drag. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I went as one time Halloween. I went as Zorro the Gay Blade. I don't know what got into
Ooh,
my head.
I love it.
Yeah, I thought that was really when I was like in junior high. I thought that was a really funny movie, and I
It
didn't think
was.
anything. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, "You be the normal Zorro, I'll be the gay one."
I love it. I love it.
I don't know why, but I didn't care.
Is this your train, sir?
I'm getting under, and I'm gonna lose you. So
Okay, baby.
thanks for having me on.
Talk to you soon.
Hopefully
Love
we
you.
hit enough points. Love you too.
All
I'll
right,
talk to you
baby.
later.
Bye, honey.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Well, that was fun, huh? So we love Brian. Okay, well, that's the end of our show. Remember, love and light, stay in your power, and peace out. I hope you enjoyed today as much as I did. Bye.